Good morning, everyone. This is Mr. Geldert, and sorry I can't be there today, but give you a quick little video introduction of what we're going to actually be doing today, or what you're going to be doing today. So in the last unit, we obviously talked a lot about electricity and magnetism. We saw that spinning a magnet in a coil of wire will generate some electricity. And what we didn't talk about much was how do we make that magnet spin? And turns out there's a lot of different sources of energy that can be used to do that, and different power plants that we make use of use different types of energy sources to actually make those things spin, make the magnet spin. So today we're going to look at some of the different types that are actually used and how it varies in different parts of the country, because different places will actually use different ones. So I'll go through a couple things with Minnesota, and then you can pick a different state and try to figure out some stuff for that. So first thing, we'll click on the Google Sheet there and open that up. And once you do that, you should open it up to this sheet. You'll see the list of all the states there. You'll put your name in next to one of them to choose a state. Everybody should choose their own. And so if somebody else has already chosen it, you'll have to choose a different one. Minnesota will not be one you get to choose because I'm going to use that one right now. And when you click on that link, it should take you to this website. Sometimes a little bit slow opening up for me, but eventually it gets there. And we see this graph here that shows us what kind of power plants we actually have here in Minnesota and how much energy actually came from each one. This is actually data from November of 2024, so not too long ago, pretty up to date, but just from 1 month. And we used natural gas fired power plants, coal fired power plants, nuclear power plants, hydroelectric, which is like a dam in a river, and then non-hydroelectric renewables, which is a variety of different things. Primarily wind and solar are what would be in that category. And then it's showing you how much of each type we actually used. If you click on one of the bars, it'll tell you more specifically how much that one actually is. You'll want to do that because one of the things you want to do is figure out what's the total amount of energy we actually used. Notice that the unit for all these, and it's the unit on the bottom of the graph there, is thousands of megawatt hours, which is a big amount, and then these numbers are all in the like hundreds or thousands as well. So these are really big numbers that we're dealing with, but it's the electricity for the whole state, so they should be big amounts. One thing it asks you to do is figure out the percentage that comes from fossil fuels, which we haven't talked about fossil fuels much, but many of you would probably know that fossil fuels from this list would include the natural gas and coal. It's things that we burn to produce steam to then spin something. But natural gas and coal would be the two fossil fuels in this list. Some states will also include petroleum as a category, and that would be a fossil fuel also. Another thing we'll look at is renewable energy, and there's obviously the category there at the bottom, the non-hydroelectric renewables, that would be renewable, and also hydroelectric is renewable as well. They just split that off into its own category. Notice that nuclear didn't fall into either of those categories because it's not a fossil fuel and it's not renewable either. Okay, so you'll be figuring out some things from that, getting some actual data from that, and figuring some things out with all that. It also is going to ask you at some point to scroll up and read through some of these quick facts about your particular state. I can see here that 33%, so a third of Minnesota's in-state electricity generation came from renewable sources. So that's kind of cool. So that would be one thing that to mention, and something that you could add on there as well, and eventually share with some of your table mates. So that's the first part of it. It kind of gets you through these first couple pages here, and then it's going to ask you to open up a Google slide presentation, which will go to this, and then you're going to add your information into this document. So I've already done this for Minnesota. I added my name there, Mr. G, and I pasted in the picture of that graph that I was just looking at, and I also figured out the percentages that I had: fossil fuels 45.6% and renewables 37.4% for Minnesota. Your states will obviously probably be different, but each slide then is a different state, and you can just scroll down and find your state, and put in your name, and then put in this other stuff about it that you've figured out, and then once you've done all that, and other people have done that as well, then you can scroll through that presentation and see kind of how your state compares to some other states, which is what these later questions are about. You can share your quick fact with your table mates, and then there's a little article to read too about data centers and the electricity demands of those data centers. All right, and there's a different article that's all about data centers in Minnesota specifically, that's linked on Schoology. If you want to read that one, you can. So hopefully find this kind of interesting, and should be able to get this all done during the hour today. So have a good day, have a good weekend, and I will see you on Monday.